Broadcasting from the Bet MGM studio, it's time for Inside the Jets. Brought to you by EY, building a better world. Now, here's Bart Scott and Dan Graca.
And we welcome you to another season of Inside the Jets, presented by EY, building a better working world. I'm Dan Graca. That's former New York Jets linebacker Bart Scott. We're thrilled to be with you for another season here of Jets football. And certainly things did not go according to plan on Sunday for the Green and White as they dropped the season opener 27-17 to the Buffalo Bills. A lot of things that you can point to, Bart, as to where things went wrong. But certainly on the road in the division, digging yourself a 21-0 hole in the first half is probably not the way you drew it up.
Definitely not the way they drew it up. And I think they really showed a lot of issues that we thought that we were going to see from not having any preseason. I thought early on their legs weren't underneath them, and really conceptually they couldn't really realize how the Buffalo Bills were deciding to attack them on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, we know there was going to be a tough outing. I think they should have tried to establish the run a little better. You allowed that awesome defense that's tough to give big plays on to really feast early on and getting the 3 and outs, which I think in turn is like a trickle-down effect, right? Because what happens is if you 3 and out, then the defense is back out there. They can't get off the field early on third down. They made the necessary adjustments. By that time, the damage was already done. Marcus May did some great things. Blesson did some great things in trying to get the ball over and steal possessions. And I think that prevented the score from looking worse than what it could have been early on. I mean, we talk about the field goal. That was a field goal. That wasn't a field goal.
Over the crossbar.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought at first when the game was starting in the second half, I thought, you know what? We may be watching a microcosm or the exact story that we saw last year.
You're right.
When the
shoe
Jets
on the other
got
foot.
out and the shoe on the other foot, and the football guys were going to throw us a bone, but it didn't work out that way. Chris Herndon with a pivotal turnover. I still think that that's something that they should have overturned, but we understand that when you make that call on the field, they're usually going to stick with it. I never thought that he made a football move. He bobbled it twice. And you can't have turnovers. And what happens is when you get behind the 8 ball and you fall behind, to get back, you have to be almost perfect. And the Jets fell short of that.
Yeah, and maybe not having that preseason experience, depending on how long the starters and the regulars were going to play anyway in the month of August, maybe still leaves a little bit of room for improvement once you get out there for real. Because, you look at the offensive line, for example, right? 5 new starters compared to week 1 in 2019. So it's one thing to go out there on the practice field and line up next to each other, but until you can actually simulate that game experience up against a team in Buffalo who, by and large, let's be real, most of those guys played together last year. This is a team that went to the postseason last year, so they were hungry. They were ready for this challenge here, and it's a good measuring stick, I think, for the Jets, and now they know what they have to work on to get to a level that I'm sure they want to strive to get to.
Well, a lot of continuity, but, some of our biggest fears, were realized because we talk about soft tissue injuries. Cashman goes down early. Le'Veon on a play where it would have been a touchdown.
6.
The linebacker reaches out, grabs him, pulls a hamstring. We may be without him for a couple of weeks. But, opportunity to try to get him in space. I thought he did a great job in matching him up against linebackers. But, Sam, said it himself, he has to be better. He missed some throws. He looked a little rusty. But that's what happens as well when you don't have a preseason, when you're going against a defense that you don't know and you have to react. When you go through training camp, you kind of understand what your teammates do well, what they don't do well. You start learning some of the calls that Greg makes. You start hearing the verbiage on the other side. So you cheat the drill just naturally, right? You should cheat the drill if you know that, okay, this guy's a blitzer. If somebody's blitzing, he's blitzing. But when you get into a game against an opponent that you haven't been going against, you don't know all those things, so you have to just react.
Let's get more on yesterday's game. We'll check in with our pals Eric Allen, Jets senior reporter, and former Jet tight end Anthony Becht, also part of our pre- and post-game team on the radio. Take it away, guys.
Welcome to the 2-minute drill. Eric Allen inside the BetMGM studio, and I'm joined as always by Anthony Becht. Anthony, the Jets drop a 27-17 decision to the Buffalo Bills in their season opener. It's hard when you play any opponent and fall behind by 21 points out of the gate.
Yeah, you're right. It's extremely hard. You have to be able to start games fast. We talked about this heading into the game, is that, the Jets had to have fine continuity. We expected to see a little more in the run game with the new offensive line, show their physicality up front, and establish that to give Sam Darnold an opportunity to kind of have some opportunities down the field throwing the football. Again, when you fall down 21-0 and you you punt really 3 and out the first couple series of the games, you put yourself behind the 8 ball, and in the NFL, it's hard to come back.
Positive side of the ledger, the Jets did come up with a couple takeaways, and Marcus May was all over the place. You could make the argument that was his best professional game. Yeah,
no question. He played fantastic in this football game. You're right, there were turnovers in this game, certain points and scenarios where the team was given a chance if they could drum up some points on the offensive side. I think early on when you watch the defense, I think getting pressure to Josh Allen and making him uncomfortable was not there. And I expect this defense to bounce back, but there clearly was times in that game where they could have been in those right situations and made things better for themselves.
We've come to expect big games from Jamison Crowder, and again today he goes over 100 yards receiving at a 69-yard catch and run. What can the Jets, though, do on the outside for those guys Sam Darnold is playing with who are not named Jamison Crowder?
You're right. Jamison Crowder did have a fantastic game. I think we thought he was really in control and did whatever he wanted in this football game, especially later on when he made some big plays down the field. And, of course, the tight ends. You talk about outside. Well, Chris Herndon and some of those other players are going to have to be able to, be a bigger part of this offense. So, getting those guys the football early, making them feel like, they're engaged into that game and calling those plays in certain situations so that, you can build a little bit more of a momentum. So you got to be able to convert on third down. If you can't get the chains moving, guess what? You don't get another offensive play. So, not having the ability to do that in the football game really just doesn't create a lot of opportunities for players that are on the field.
You were a player. How quickly does this team have to turn the page? This is just one game, and you can't let this carry into next week.
Well, in New York City, everything gets compounded and piled on in a loss. So everybody knows that. But, when you're a pro and you're a player, it's just one game, like you said. You turn the page quickly. You learn from your mistakes. You got a week to figure it out, and you get better from it. So everybody has room to improve. But, getting a game under your belt is so key. No preseason, no off season. I mean, look, this is a moving, fluid situation. And I expect teams, not just the Jets, but everybody to be better in week 2. So I definitely see Sam and the crew playing and improving into next week's game.
Coming up next, we'll be joined by Jets linebacker Neville Hewitt on Inside the Jets, presented by EY, building a better working world. And welcome back to Inside the Jets. Dan Graca and Bart Scott along with you. And it's time now to bring in our player guest. And our player guest segment is presented by EY, building a better working world. We're pleased to be joined by third-year Jets linebacker. He is Neville Hewitt, and he's nice enough to give us some time here on the show. Neville, it's Dan Graca and Bart Scott. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. How y'all doing?
Maintaining. So now, first question, right? Backer to backer, no preseason, really no live bullets. How does the body feel today?
It's sore. I was hurt today. My legs was dead last night when I got home. They're going to come back. I'll get them back together by Wednesday.
Well, absolutely. We know that's a lot of cryotherapy and a lot of cold tub. Yesterday, you guys played a lot of snaps, man. Really struggled a little bit to get off the field on third down. How do you guys rectify that? Did they show something? Did they give you guys something that you didn't expect, or was it just Josh Allen, doing what he does and using his legs to extend plays and get out of the pocket?
I think a lot of it was undisciplined. We had a lot of penalties on third down, and then they did a good job with their quarterback being able to extend plays and get first downs. And a lot of that stuff we was beating ourselves. Had a lot of missed sacks, a lot of missed tackles, and then the penalties as well. Play the role.
Now, have you had a chance to look at the film? Is that more about you guys not just really bringing your legs with you on the tackle, kind of letting your legs die and fall off, because you guys haven't had live tackling taken to the ground or trying to hit with authority?
Yeah, I think part of it is we haven't been able to have any live games, no preseason, anything like that, but. That's no excuses. Professional athletes, you got to, do your job, bring the guy down.
Now, the hamstring helper, right? We all know, when you start getting to, that play 40 and play 50, those hamstrings get tight, man. How did you compensate and kind of use your mind opposed to using your body, understanding what they were trying to do? Because it seems like they were using your guys' aggression against you and really throwing a lot of screens and trying to, understand that you guys were bringing pressure. But then it seemed like you guys subtly kind of put eyes on. Did you guys go to a spy? Or what was the adjustments that you guys made at halftime to kind of slow them down?
We just, came together and just got back to the game plan as far as like everybody just doing their job, and it just we came up with a little more energy after halftime. We came with a little more energy, and guys was swarming to the ball, and I think they had what, 6 points in the second half.
Yeah.
So we just got to find a way to start faster, you know, and execute these games. These games without no fans, it's gonna come down to who can execute their stuff better than the other person.
Talking with Neville Hewitt here on Inside the Jets, Dan Graca and Bart Scott. Neville, you mentioned no fans. What type of an adjustment was that for you out on the field? I mean, certainly you expect a certain atmosphere. That's what you've grown accustomed to as an NFL player. Was that odd at all for you, not having as many fans in that building?
No, I mean, it was different, but I mean, I played in JUCO before, so I'm used to not seeing fans. I know what that's like already. So, like I said, that's when it comes down to, it's like a live practice. It comes down to who's going to execute, you know, their game plan better.
And now it's quarterback run again. Allen to his right, breaks a tackle, throws the ball forward, inexplicably right into the hands of Bradley McDougald.
How was the communication trying to decipher what they were saying, maybe picking up some of their coded language? How does that affect, or how is that an advantage for you guys now that you're going to be able to understand the verbiage and the communication that the offense is having with each other, maybe understanding what red means, white, Sunday, Monday, all those things? Are you guys starting to take some inventory? Because you're going to see those guys again, and they're going to have to change up the verbiage.
Yeah, definitely. I think for both places, we can hear the checks and stuff. You know, we can hear when the quarterback's about to change it to the other side, stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure they can hear what we're saying as well. So all of that's going to come into play in the game too.
The chess match, right? The
Yeah.
chess match. Now, like, you had some guys that stepped up. I mean, Cashman goes down early in the game. You guys have to adjust. You know, how did that affect, like, maybe the communication, trying to get some chemistry with Langley? I don't know how much you guys have played with each other, you know, in the preseason, or I can't even say preseason, during camp. How does that change the communication and maybe limit, maybe also the game plan and the playbook?
Yeah, well, during the game, they actually had moved to Will for a few plays when he first came in, and then I just got to the point where I was like, I said, I'll tell you what to do. I'm gonna go back to Mike.
Let me play fast. Let me play fast, man. You slowing me down too.
Yeah, I said I'll let you know what to do. But Harvey always comes. He's one of the linebackers that's probably in the best shape. You know, he came back. You know, he can run, and he played all special teams and still was out there flying around. You know, he's a guy just once he knows what to do, he's gonna get it done. But I know he's dead right now.
It's not like you ever want the injuries to happen, Neville, of course, but is it almost reassuring in the sense that, you know, if a couple of guys go down here early, you made a living off of that last year with all the guys that were out of the lineup, especially at your position there at linebacker, and you guys came together and did a really solid job. Does that give you some sort of confidence knowing that, hey, we've been down this road before and we did a good job?
Yeah, definitely. But, I mean, we down to like 3 linebackers right now. I think last year we had at least like 4 of us. Still.
I got eligibility, baby. I got eligibility left. They cut that check right out. I'll stretch it out.
All right. Shoot.
I want to be the backup. I want to be the backup, though. I don't really actually want to play. I just want to collect the check.
We'll take the knowledge, though.
Now, speaking of that, I mean, this week it only gets harder, right? You guys have a hell of an opponent in the San Francisco 49ers. They're going to try and establish a run, but that's something that you guys will do well at. You know, I know that you want to turn the page, and you don't officially turn the page maybe till tomorrow and start thinking about the game plan, but how much football will you watch, and how much do you learn from watching what the other teams are doing and kind of conceptually understand where the NFL is, what's going to be the flavor of the week, and how teams are going to try to win football games in this unpredictable climate?
Yeah, for me, I'm big on film. I know some guys don't really like watching film. They just go out there and, you know, play the calls that are played. But for me, I like to know what kind of runs I'm going to see, you know, what kind of what I'm going to see on first, second down, where they're going to do it on the field, especially in the between the 40 and the minus 40, plus 40, the gadgets that may come up. I like to see all that stuff, and I want to see it today, tomorrow, and then once we get to Wednesday, working on, you know, first and second down, I want to already have a head start. So if I have a question, I want to already get an answer to it before we go to, Thursday, third down and stuff like that.
Coming up, we'll have more with Jets linebacker Neville Hewitt on Inside the Jets, presented by EY, building a better working world. Welcome back to Inside the Jets, presented by EY, building a better working world. Dan Graca and Bart Scott with you, and we're joined by Jets linebacker Neville Hewitt, and our player guest segment is presented by EY, building a better working world. How fast, Neville, do you put yesterday's loss behind you? How soon do you immediately look ahead to the next week's opponent?
Right now, I watched the film. We done went over it with our coaches. It's behind us until we play them again.
When we were in our first and second year, we thought we were invincible. I used to laugh all the time and hear, I played with Dion, and he always said he never saw a cheetah stretch, but he didn't realize everybody wasn't a cheetah like he was. I was more like a hyena.
Yeah, I think it's more so. I'm more of a lead by example type of guy, and a lot of guys been following my lead. But as the season go on, I believe a lot of the guys will start catching on, and a lot of guys take the recovery part very, very serious. But I know one thing I've been paying attention to is on our back end, we having a lot of guys running free, and it could have been a lot more touchdowns yesterday. Yeah. And I think that's something that I've seen that we need to get corrected. So I believe once I get on the guys, the older guys, the younger guys will fall in line with that.
Was it tough, Neville? Because they always say, on the practice field, it's always hard to duplicate that game speed, right? Until the bullets are out there flying for real. So was that a little bit of an eye-opener for you once you were in that game situation after not having preseason and whatnot in August? Once that speed kicked up a little bit, was it a little bit of an adjustment for you guys, you think?
That could be part of it. That's like I was saying, like yesterday was our first game of the year. We had no preseason. The scrimmage speed ain't even as fast as the game speed, so we got to adjust to it fast and like me and May was talking, we said in practice, we just have to go as hard as we can and start practice fast and then translate that and bring that to the game.
Now, real life stuff, I'm looking at your beautiful canvas of your white walls behind, but I don't see no paintings and stuff like that. What people don't realize is that you move into your new places and things like that, and you still have to get things in order and stuff like that. Now, how do you do that, and how do you find that balance? Or are you saying, no shades, no furniture until bye week?
I got furniture stuff. I let my girl do all that stuff. I don't really. I don't need the TV sometimes that I barely watch.
Hey, I tell you what, you better get that receipt. Make sure you know how much she's spending, man. Don't just give her the car. Don't just give her the car. You're gonna have some Versace sheets in your bed.
This is year number 3 for you here with the Jets, Neville, and you're not really a vocal guy in the locker room. You're kind of just understated to go about your business. Would you consider yourself more of a lead by example type of guy in this football team and on this defense?
Yeah, I became more vocal. Just because that's what I have to do. Once you play Mike, you have to speak. So when I was playing Will, I just came in, worked hard, played special teams, and the guys that was on special teams with me, they seen how I approached it and they followed. And now that I've been to the Mike last year and the Mike this year, I speak a lot more, and I just try to encourage guys to make the plays that come to them, because this opportunity this window is so small. And you don't know what may happen today or tomorrow. And one day you'll be starting and one day you'll be cut, not here. So take advantage of the opportunity. That's what
Well, Neville, we appreciate a couple of minutes as always, my friend. Best of luck against the 49ers coming up on Sunday and the rest of the season. We look forward to catching up with you again. Thanks for joining us, Neville.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's all the time for us this week. We thank Jets linebacker Neville Hewitt for joining us. He's Bart Scott. I'm Dan Graca. We'll be back next week for another edition of Inside the Jets, presented by EY, building a better working world.